Okay.
I heard that.
I know, yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Mark that in the notes. If Josh wins the lottery, he'll build the gym. We all right? We live? Cool. All right, we're gonna call this meeting to order here at 6:30 at the on the 27th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, we have a quorum here tonight, so we are good. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Okay. So, do we have any public comment? Alright, seeing none. Alright, do I have a motion to approve the previous minutes from May 13th, 2025?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Deb, do I have a second?
Second.
Alright, motion seconded by Josh. Do we have any discussion on the motion?
I'm going to recuse myself because I wasn't at that meeting.
Alright, all in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none. That passes. Old business, I've got nothing on the agenda for old business. Did I miss anything? Alright. New business. We mentioned this last time that we got a letter here about the use of the fire station, and we put this on for discussion here. Chief St. Michel, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Sure.
Yeah, please take a seat. Just turn that microphone on. And we all know you, but you have to say your name and the street. You don't gotta give us the number.
William St. Michel, Davis Road. The letter, it alludes to, I'm in charge of the banquet committee, or I coordinate the banquet committee meetings. And after scheduling it 4 times, and the third time it was canceled, the final time it was canceled, I found out when I texted the chief we weren't in charge of scheduling the use of the meeting room any longer. Which my first reaction was not very positive, but when we built the station, it was designed so the station would have 3 functional areas: the bays for emergency response, the office area, and the meeting room, with the intention that someday, as the community grew, they need the additional meeting space. I guess that I, for one, don't want to. There were countless hours put into this, volunteer hours. I don't want to have to call the town office to schedule the use of the meeting room that's supposed to go along with the fire station. That being said, we built it with the intention that it could be utilized by the municipality, and we tried to make it so that everybody could cohabitate. But I guess my suggestion really is that it would be great if maybe the selectmen and the planning board, I think those are the 2 big meetings that need to happen in here, and happen on a regular schedule, which we could plan. It would be great if we could schedule anything else, the special items, or that way there we could still come down here and schedule the use for committee meetings and things like that, without having to worry about calling to the town office and schedule the use of the meeting room that a lot of people volunteered a lot of time putting together.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of my letter.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your comment, and we definitely hear you loud and clear. There's no one sitting up here who wants this to be our meeting space. This is a temporary fix. We really, over on the town office, that was a small space, and we couldn't really accommodate more than 1 or 2 people attending the meeting. If this was this many people tonight, people would have been standing in the hallway. And so we made that decision to move here temporarily, checked with Chief before that, and at the time, the rule was just never anything on Thursday, even on the Thursdays when the fire department doesn't have something. And so we want to find a way to get out of this space, but where that takes time and money. And so that's one thing we're working on with our downtown visioning plan, and also things like adding, we're voting tonight to add internet over to the Eureka Center. And I know that we'll just, in the interim, ask all folks who can, especially during the summertime when the weather's fine, to schedule their meetings over there. And I think we can also sit down and look at our meeting agenda and look at it with Chief, and maybe say, We know that the select board needs to be in here the second and fourth Tuesday, the planning board needs to be in here the first Wednesday. We know we always give it to the, fire department every Thursday. We might even be able to say, hey, let's all Wednesdays that aren't the first Wednesday, block that off for the fire department as well. So you all know you always have Wednesday and Thursday, and we can try to work around that, and it's something we can kind of discuss with our committees and stuff, but we hear you. We absolutely do.
Yep. To go with my letter, you guys view this as a fire station, a municipal building for the members and everything. It's a lot more than, this meeting room is a lot
Yeah.
more, as my letter alluded to, than just a meeting space or anything like that. So the mere fact that, at least for me, and I think for some of the others, the mere fact that we have to move to the bays or cancel a meeting. Actually, the last banquet committee meeting I held at my house. It was too cold out in the bays, and I was like, nah, we're not meeting in the bays. We held it at the house. I realize right now you crunch for space, and we built this and designed it the way we designed it, so that when the day came and the municipality was crunched for space, there'd be enough space. Those meetings that have fixed schedules, it would be great if we put them on the calendar and then go back to scheduling here for special events that you may need the meeting room for,
Yeah.
and then we could still utilize our previous system of calling up and scheduling it. And I, for one, wouldn't be surprised when I found out that now you might have scheduled it, but I don't know how many of the members actually even knew that the meeting room was no longer to be scheduled through here. I know I kept scheduling it. I scheduled it for 4 events, and
Yeah.
only one of them actually happened in here.
Well, we can make sure that gets clarified with it. So.
But it would be, and if while we're talking as special events, I would think that would be fairly easy a fairly easy fix and palatable for everybody involved to actually move scheduling back to here and schedule planning board and selectmen, whatever the normal rotation is. And,
Well,
that's my suggestion.
no, I appreciate that, and I definitely think we can talk about scheduling and be more mindful that in a perfect world, this is a space for you all, to come and break bread, to relax, stop by, talk with who's on duty. If there were recovery after a fire and we had a meeting, that's a challenge here too. And so we totally understand that. I think that we can come up with an interim solution before we can get out of here to make sure that there's more space and time dedicated for the fire department in here, and just being aware that it's a shared space, but it looks like a firehouse when in here for a reason, so we hear that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, didn't I talked about that in the letter?
Yeah.
There's a lot more here than just a meeting room. I know that
Absolutely.
for most of the municipality, they view it as a meeting room, but there's a lot more here than just a meeting room.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, thank you for the letter, and thanks for coming in and talking. And
Yep.
we're definitely gonna see how we make some changes here. For
Okay.
sure. So.
you're gonna probably have a discussion on meetings and stuff you said later on during this meeting?
We have that on our draft here to have the discussion now, but I wanted to get feedback from you before we started to open it up
Okay.
for our board. Does anyone have any questions for Chief St. Michelle? You might notice his name's on the side of the building too. Cool. Well, thank you.
Yep.
So I thought about this leading up to this meeting, and I know that right now we have scheduled select board meeting here, and then the planning board, and traditionally we've done the budget committee meetings here. When I think of our other boards and committees that meet once a month, do we know how many of them are meeting here versus meeting in Eureka?
I believe they were all meeting over there.
So they're all meeting in Eureka at this point? Okay, cool. And so especially with us getting the internet over there, I think that the best policy is Eureka should be the first choice for everyone outside of us and the planning board. And then if people need to use this, I think there might be a little bit of benefit in checking in with Chief just to make sure that there isn't something else scheduled here in the interim. So does that work for folks? If someone comes up to book this, we can just double check on this side of the house.
I have a couple comments. Well, is there a reason why, I don't know, when we're doing the scheduling here, was it just a hard copy calendar on the wall, or someone was keeping an electronic
Yeah.
calendar?
When did that
Sorry,
spread
I
back
should
to
have
work?
asked the question, but you didn't have any questions.
I think there's a lot of solutions for the issue. I know on my end, even if I'd have known, I gotta be honest, I probably would have never called the town office to schedule the use of the
But how
building,
did
but
you
that's
do
me
before?
personally.
Did you have something?
But
going
if we
on?
had a calendar, we actually publish a monthly calendar for the department, and I believe Diana told me, I usually don't put it on my refrigerator anymore, I tended to lose my refrigerator, but, we publish a monthly calendar, and that monthly calendar actually has the selectmen's for, way back when I was here, we
Yeah.
started doing that, and it had the selectmen's meeting on it. So having a hard copy on the wall or something, I can't speak for the department,
Yeah.
no longer my say, but I would think that would be an easy solution or something.
Yeah,
Do
because
you have
Chief,
any objection?
I don't have any issue with that.
Objection?
I think that, so Chief, like you said, at the beginning of every month gives out the training calendar and it has our meetings on there. I don't think it currently has the planning board's meeting on that calendar. But maybe we just need to make sure we're crossing calendars here. So when Chief makes that, maybe you talk to Chief and have him send it to you. And so then you can fill in if there's anything else. And then if it gets changed, we should always let Chief know, okay, someone really needed that because there's a special thing here, and so then Chief can let people know at the weeklies or through his text or email chain, and so then everyone always knows, because I know that like your experience in the past has been de facto you always knew it was always open unless it was Thursday, and so it feels backwards to have to be like, well, is it open today? And so while we're going through this, I think we can make it very easy to find that information on the print calendar. So
Yeah, or even an electronic version. I mean, that calendar, it's an electronic version of the
So
calendar. Sharing
we've
that
got
calendar
we've
electronically.
got the calendar that lives on the website right now that's electronic and that's up to date. So we got that. But I think the print version is helpful too, because I know a lot of the guys just put it right on the fridge. So does that work for everybody? Awesome. Well, thank you for your feedback. Really appreciate it. And you gotta. This is what these meetings are for: is to hear from folks and hear what's going on. The only way we know is if people tell us. So.
Yeah, well, I know I'm the only one that spoke, but I know the auxiliary they've
Yeah.
tried rescheduling and scheduling around different things, and so it's not just a periodic committee meeting. So if we can, a resolution, hopefully it works out.
Yeah, I think it will.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. All right, next on the agenda, we got Mike Clark from Durham Youth Baseball with a request, so come on up.
Join me.
I don't know. Hey, you can have this.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Michael Clark, President Durham Baseball, Old Brunswick Road. If you guys need that. Vice President here, Kyle Pouliot, Hunter Hill Road, with me as well. Yeah, so we had I had sent Jerry a request back. I think it was late in the year, maybe right after first year, around budget time. We usually, historically, have put in a request for a fund. For some support from the town for the kids, being the last and only youth sports team run out of Durham here at this point. Trying to keep that here in town, and now that we've had the field over here for the last few years as a lease from the town, historically up until 3 years ago, we did not have our own field. So it's been great for the organization. It's really helped us grow and do a lot of great things as a league. But with that also comes some challenges and other expenses and things that we're looking to do to not only improve the space but improve the facility and area for the kids and the people that come to watch the games. So I think we had put in a request for, I think it was $10,000, and certainly open to discussion on that. But some of the challenges that we're kind of running into over there we have 104 or 5 kids in the league this year, which is similar enrollment to what we had last year. We run ages 4 through 12 t-ball right up through what is called majors. So we currently have 6 T-ball teams, and we run games Saturday mornings for our T-ball over there on the field from 9 to 12. And then we have 2 what are called rookies age groups, which are 7 and 8-year-old kids, 2 minors teams, which are 9 and 10, and then 1 majors, which is ages 11 and 12. So with that are those older age groups from 7 through 12, trying to get them games here at home during the week or weekends, as well as practice time for everybody. It's really tough with only having one facility. So one of the things we've kind of discussed as a board is, maybe trying to put some type of batting cage or something out there behind the fence, maybe out in right field, that would possibly give us the ability to kind of have 2 teams practicing at once with, split the practice, one team doing some batting for the first half, other team doing fielding, and then flip-flopping. So, that gives people field time and space. We've been able to work it a little bit over the last couple of years with our older kids, like the 11 and 12, which are 5th and 6th graders. Coaches have been able to work their schedules to just meet them right after school, which has been nice, because that allows somebody to get on at 3:30 and then, at 5 for a game or a practice. So that's been a challenge as far as field time and field space for all the kids. The other thing is during the games, we have obviously families that have younger siblings coming to watch the games. There's really no space for those kids to kind of hang out or congregate. I mean, we have the snack shack, but outside of that, it's kids are kind of playing in the tree line, running around. So maybe something in the space behind left field between the town hall parking lot. We've talked about if there's a possibility maybe for some type of play set or swing set or tables or something to kind of give kids or families kind of something to do, make it kind of more of a multi-use facility as well. So those are some of the thoughts that we've had. Running the league, we do try to keep our registration fees down. I think we're probably one of the lowest, if not the lowest, as compared to surrounding towns like Freeport, Lisbon, and other areas that we play for the kids. So we're not making a lot of money on registrations after we buy uniforms and pay for umpires and things like that. We do a fundraiser, which we started last year. We'll know here in a couple weeks how much we're bringing in from that. So anything that the town could do to kind of help the kids and help us kind of continue to improve the facility would be greatly appreciated.
Mm-hmm. And in the past, we've done $2,500 a year, correct?
Yeah.
The last 3 years?
Yep, yeah, and I think that actually even goes back beyond before I was president, before we had that field, where we didn't have maintenance, upkeep, and other things.
Do you guys pay maintenance and upkeep in this field?
I mean, we've paid for all the improvements. So over the last 3 years, we've probably put 15 to 20 grand into that field. We've resurfaced the infield. We've reloamed and seeded the outfield. We've enclosed the whole field with fencing. We added on to the snack shack this year. We got electricity in there. What else have we done? Fence topper was $1,000.
Yeah, it's all in your email.
Yeah. So the town Public Works has mowed it for us, which is certainly greatly appreciated. But outside of that, all the other maintenance is coming from us.
So mostly your investment is in like physical structure, but the town is covering the mowing and of the outfield and the infield and that sort of stuff for you right now.
Town has mowed the outfield, right?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Infield is just all dirt.
Awesome. You all had someone participate in the downtown visioning process for us, right?
So that was me. I was here, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, taking part in that process, we came up with this big plan to try to get input to figure out what the downtown is going to look like. So the only red flag I see here is that we want to make sure we're not jumping the gun on some of these things. So if we're building a structure someplace and then 2-3 years from now that structure's now in the way, we'd have to remove it, and depending on what it is, it might be lost or something like that. And so on any sort of structure built outside of the fence line, for me, once we get to those higher dollar amounts, I'd want to see a proposal or some sort of estimate first, just because we restructured our budget this year, so we have more flexibility with recreation funds. So rather than having to budget for just come in and ask us before the budget cycle for amount of money, we put it in the budget. We now have a recreation fund that we can administer out of throughout the year, depending on the specific need and the benefit to the community and stuff like that. And so we're not as stringent with what we have to give right now, but we do have that little bit of flexibility. But that being said, I'd really want to see a proposal or an estimate if we get above that $2,500 mark for it. This is what the batting cage would look like, because we need to know things like, if you put up a swing set, is a swing set that we can easily take down when that space gets reconfigured, or is the batting cage something that can be easily taken down? Is it going to be available for people who aren't participants in the Durham baseball, youth area baseball, or whatever, to actually come and use in their free time as well? Because once we start getting that impact, we have to think about the total community use as well too.
Sure.
So, do you have a quote for the batting cage or for a play set or something like that?
So this time I don't have anything concrete. I mean, kind of research some things online. I mean, batting cages, you could, again, depending on if we wanted or if the town would allow a permanent structure, depending on the size, could go anywhere from, I mean, I had one personally at my house for my kids a few years back that I spent $500 on, but it wasn't, anything great.
Different scale.
But yeah, I mean, if we wanted something, permanent that some of the other facilities that we go around to have, could be anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. Swing set again, or something like that, depending on what that might look like, if the town would even approve that.
Yeah.
That you could spend anywhere from $1,000 to 10, 15, 20 grand for something huge.
Yeah.
But I think just having something that would provide, especially younger kids, just not being around, running through the tree line or running in and out of, back and forth of the school, or throwing sticks and rocks around with nothing else to do, would be helpful. But
to me, it sounds like what you're saying is the batting cage could address some of the congestion you're having.
That definitely could. I mean, that has been a struggle for us. And this year, I mean, we've had more engagement this year with T-ballers than ever before. I mean, we get T-ball coaches, which are 4 to 6 year old kids, wanting to hold practice, at night, and that typically hasn't happened in years past. And so they're over here using the space in between the baseball softball field at the school, or even the grass spot behind left field, between the parking lot, which is fine for that age group. But when you start getting up to the older kids, it is tough to, where we struggle to get them a practice a week. And I hate to lose kids because we can't, provide something that maybe another town is, because they have more facilities. Right?
So for me, the $2,500 is generally what we give, so that seems acceptable to me. To give you full transparency, when we do any capital requests from any other capital accounts, especially our municipal accounts and stuff like that, for these large items, people are coming with multiple bids and quotes and telling us, like, here's our options and stuff like that, which we have to do to be fiscally responsible.
Yep.
And so, from my perspective, anything above and beyond the normal $2,500 and anything for a specific project, especially something that's going to have an impact outside the fence where it now gets into the town use type stuff, I'd want to see a little bit more information on
That's
that
fair.
and a few options, just to judge the benefit there. But does anyone else have any questions here?
Josh, you can go first.
How long is your season? When is it?
You go from, we start practice in April.
Yeah, well, so we actually, as a league, we start running indoor clinics and practices starting, so we rent out a facility in Brunswick for the kids starting after February break that goes till April break. And that's once a week on Saturdays for a couple of hours for kids that want to participate in that. But our game season for the league that we're part of starts the week after April vacation and ends basically at the end of the school year. And historically, and we are this year, we are doing an all-star team for one of the age groups. So they'll be playing up through the end of June. They'll be playing in a tournament in Skowhegan the last weekend of June for that.
So, I mean, to me, one of the things we talked about, I'm trying to completely blank on her name, when GB Coglu was here with Kristen Degio, was, you know, something for the younger kids. And I agree, you know, to an extent, we should have better planning or ideas around what's gonna happen, but, it sounds like it's probably too late to do anything
For this
now.
season, yeah.
And then, you know, like, getting some picnic tables would be relatively inexpensive, but may be helpful, you know, so and again, probably wouldn't happen this year, but I think, spending some time planning going forward.
Right, so, yeah, I mean, you're right, it means obviously it's too late to do any of the stuff that we'd like to do to impact this season. But during our meetings throughout the winter and so forth, I mean, if we had funds that we knew we could allocate, we could, or even do something in the fall to have it ready for next year. You know, it would certainly be part of our planning that we would be doing.
And I think the process there that we use with all other capital funds is, even with the town, like buildings in the public works, they're coming to us with a proposal, and then we're awarding funds, as opposed to us saying, you got 40 grand, go find a piece of equipment. And so if during those winter meetings you all can come up with some sort of concrete proposal or whatever, that's where I think we could talk about expending more than our normal $2,500. And then we also talk about things as maybe the tables, picnic tables, aren't something that you all should have to worry about. It's something that we can
Sure.
take care of separately. And we look at the playground separately. There might be grant opportunities and those sorts of things. But if we kind of get that wish list from you and then some proposals, I think we could probably do a little bit more, because we just got to maintain that same process for everyone, be fiscally responsible here with
Yeah,
this-
no, I
this
understand, I
dollars,
appreciate
so.
that, sure.
Down this end of the table, sorry.
Most people who know me know that baseball is a huge part of my life and my family's life. I'm absolutely an advocate for a batting cage for safety purposes, as well as the on-deck circles that you guys talked about. I think a permanent type batting cage in the long run makes a lot more sense financially than a temporary type structure. My question is about insurance, and I don't know if you have insurance or
We do.
if the town covers you. So your organization covers anything in terms of liability that
So-
happens inside the fence?
It covers kids that play, that are part of our league, registered in our league, you know, during a league activity, practice game, something like that. So, yeah, it wouldn't cover, to my understanding, would not cover if somebody, you know, a regular resident just went over and used it, and, you know, there are a couple kids messing around and somebody got beamed in the head.
So those are my things that I think are important to consider, even when we're talking about activity outside of baseball, but like a play structure or something like that, that we need to take those things into consideration, that if it were outside of the league, insurance coverage, and if it were something that were available, which I am an advocate for, I think it's important for the younger age group to have something to do. I just think that's a box that we also have to check and make sure that we're addressing.
Yeah, so I definitely understand that on like a play set or something. I don't know that for batting cage or batting structure that it would be any different than if, you know, because the field is open to residents
Right.
now, you know, if they're over
Yeah.
there playing, somebody gets
I
hurt,
imagine
that's
it'd
might
be
be
captured
different.
in that, yeah.
But no, yeah, the play set, I mean, that makes sense.
Deb, did you have a question?
I like the ideas that you had written down in the email, and at first I thought, okay, this is actually like a colliding with the developmental discussions we're having over there, so
Right.
maybe the timing is good. You know, we can't do anything right away, but we just were briefed on the, you know, the committee suggestions over there, and we talked about what could be a priority. This discussion could move some of those things that maybe were further down, up a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
and then have a plan forward. Because we'll be talking about that again very
Well,
shortly.
in things I like to think about too is like, I'm of the mindset like, I'm a buy once, cry once kind of guy. I would hate to see us get something cheap
Right.
and then buy it again in a few years. And when you say batting cage, I could be completely off my rocker here, but I envision along the outfield fence line, a chute that is
Mhm.
got a net in. We're gonna have to have questions about who's maintaining it, who's storing that, who's taking the net down. Something like that I see as if it's it's just taking up a little bit of width and the length along the fence line, it's probably not gonna intrude into other activities when we do things in the future there. But it
Yeah.
is addressing not only an increased opportunity for something new, but also this is not the first time we've heard you all with the scheduling issue over there. And so for that thing, that's why I would say brainstorm this with your committee and bring us something after you get through the season and stuff like that, so we can see what those sorts of opportunities are. And nothing's ever guaranteed,
Right.
but we hear where you're coming from.
Yeah,
So.
and I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, the reality is that we could use a whole another field.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I know that we're not there at this point in time, and I wish we were, because it could certainly be useful. But yeah, I mean, as far as like the batting cage goes, we'd be looking at something that would be maybe 60 feet long by 12, 14 feet wide. That would be big enough for kids to do live batting and pitching. The pitcher's mound for
Yeah.
older kids is 50 feet to home plate. So you could do pitching practice, batting practice, and those types of things in there. And you're right, it would be behind right field, so it wouldn't even be intruding into the parking lot.
Yeah, and the thing is, with our downtown visioning, we've explored what would happen with that access point there, so we want to make sure we're leaving room there, and just make sure that we can use it in the long run.
Yep.
But I like the idea. I'm just not comfortable giving the 10,000 today.
No, I
So I'm saying bring us
Yeah.
more info, but I am comfortable doing 2,500 because that's generally what we've been doing, and I don't want to pull that out from under you all.
Appreciate
So-
that.
Yeah.
Is it something that you need, the 2,500 now, or is it something we could say, hey, look, we didn't give it this last year, we can kind of add it in? I mean,
Yeah, I mean-
either way, it doesn't, I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be perfectly honest and transparent, I mean, our season is half over. We got 3 weeks left. So the $2,500 isn't gonna make or break us for this season. You guys want to provide it for this year? We're certainly not gonna turn it down. But yeah, no, I mean, it's not like we're hanging by a shoestring at this point in time.
I think for me, like, it either sits in our account or it sits in their account, right? And based on what it is that you're saying, because I don't mean our account, obviously, the recreation account,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I know what you're saying.
And so it's not like that's not available to you. And if it makes more sense for it to be in your hands at this point, we can
Yeah.
have a vote on that, or it stays in the recreation account, and when we do this request, you just account for that in there.
So, just make sure that I'm clear. So, 2,500, and then if we come back, are you talking potentially 10 more on top of that if things kind of made sense, or would it be 7,500?
I think depending on the proposal.
Yeah.
And so if you all are coming to us and saying, we've got these 3 proposals for something, we'd like to do this when it costs $10,000. You might say, we've already got $3,000 between what you gave us last year and some fundraiser money. Can you help us span the difference? That's what could happen. If you came forward and said, hey, you gave us $2,500 last year, we haven't spent it, but can you pay for the thing in full this year? That's going to be a conversation for that time. Personally, I'm comfortable with giving you the $2,500 because we've just done that year in and year out, and we don't know what a next iteration of a board looks like, so I don't want you to miss a year
Yeah.
in case the next
No.
board hates baseball and
Yep.
only plays tennis or something. So, Jerry?
I just want to clear up the insurance, excuse me, the insurance question. So that's town property, and so that's covered under our MMA insurance. Same with the dugouts, that's on our insurance. Now, as far as anybody getting hurt on town property, we would be covered under tort claims in that situation. So someone that would file a claim against the town would have to prove the town was negligent. So I think if a kid unfortunately got beaten in the head with a ball, would probably be covered under their insurance, would be my guess, if there was anybody to file.
But if it was outside of a game and,
Still, it's town property.
Town
so
property,
the-
it's gonna be
The town
covered
isn't
too,
really being
yeah.
negligent in any
Yep.
way.
So
it's-
that's where the, sorry to make
No,
you
go
interrupt
ahead.
you. That's where the play structure conversation comes in for me,
Sure.
is that, like, we would wanna have oversight to make sure that we're meeting whatever the town insurance is saying would make it that the town would be the least liable if somebody got hurt because it meets this height requirement or something like
Right.
that. So that's why we just need to see things
well, and
really spelled out.
And especially with that, frankly, I wouldn't want to see something that's like a play structure or something like that come out of your guys' budget, because it's a town, it's on a different, it's not within the field, it's
Yeah.
a town thing, same with picnic tables and stuff like that. So I wouldn't want to see you all have to fundraise to put a play structure that you own on property that's owned by the town, that gets used 10 months out of the year by non-baseball. Like, I'd rather you all be able to
Right.
focus your fundraising efforts on the baseball component.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that, and
And I kind of just want to use the batting cage too.
right.
Anytime.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a thought that we've talked about as a board as far as the play structure, just trying to, you're right. I mean, our job as a board is to provide the best baseball experience and facility we can in regards to baseball. And, I think you're right that is kind of out of our scope, but at the same time, we want to make sure that facility is something that anybody in the town can enjoy, and that we're not just, that we're focused on the community and not just the kids that play in
Yeah.
our organization as
Which
well.
we appreciate that mindfulness. So, do we have a motion to provide $2,500 to adjourn with baseball?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All right. Any other discussion? So, like I said, I'd like to provide $2,500 just because that's what we had talked about, and then the budget cycle, and what was kind of implied as to what was going to be the ask this year based off of previous years, with the encouragement to bring more detailed proposals for other types of expansions, because we're trying to focus on that downtown area. So,
And this would come out of the recreation account?
yeah, it would come out of the recreational reserve.
And there's enough money in there?
I will tell you, just what we
Yeah.
have in there.
I don't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty
I
sure.
wanna guess, I think it's like 23,000.
23,742.
Boom.
It's not just for baseball.
So we'll make sure our request is less than 23,741 next
That's for
time.
all recreations. So, but any other discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor? Any opposition? Well, thank you all, you
No,
guys
thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thank you.
If you need
Thanks so
it, bring us something more detailed, for some of
So
those.
when we have that ready, just check in with Jerry and get back on the
Yeah,
agenda.
we'll get you on the agenda
Okay.
and we'll have a discussion, so.
All right,
Yeah,
great.
you can look at that GP cog package from our last meeting, it's online, just to get a feel for, the sketches we did in that workshop.
Yep.
She had put just a location of some ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
If anything, a batting cage could keep balls away from the parking lots too.
No one's quite getting it over in that area.
I was thinking some of them T-ballers might have a good swing. So.
We do have one kid on our team though, 10 years old. He almost put one in the town hall parking lot tonight.
There we go.
So.
Wow.
And I would just encourage you to stay involved with this process for this area.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That baseball field is
Yes.
important. So.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to provide the input. I appreciate you guys listening and the consideration. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we appreciate you all coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you
All right.
for what you do.
Have a good night.
I lost my paper here. Alrighty, there we are. So just did you get that motion? All right, cool.
Yes.
Resiliency grant update with the Conservation Commission. You know the deal, name and street.
Yes. Roberta Brzezinski, Quaker Ridge Road.
And Jess Costa on Brianna Drive.
So we're here just to provide an update about the Community Resilience Partnership Grant, which we received. I don't know if you got the news. There was a little period of time they were waiting for a press release before you're supposed to tell the whole world. So. And so yeah, we're really happy, and I guess we provided some material. I can provide the entire grant application if you want to know the details, but this request for proposals basically, is telling a consultant that we would hire what we're looking for. So that's sort of a summation, but you can see the whole grant. It's for open space plan and a conservation strategy. And we're hoping that the conservation strategy will sort of help us be proactive in as things come up. We know what we have here, we know what we need to protect, and what are the most valuable areas, and that we, have a plan. It calls for a lot of public participation. We will certainly need help from lots of people to identify stakeholders, how people use open space, what they're looking for. And, for years and years, everyone wants to protect rural character. So I think we need to have a lot of discussions about what rural character is. Like, what are we trying to protect? So, I hope we'll have a lot of discussions about what we all value, both just intrinsically, as open space, but also, you can look into the ecological services provided, water quality, and all those issues will be brought up. And,
Yeah, it's gonna be.
80,000.
Wow, it's 80,000 and 72,000 will go to the consultant to ultimately develop the open space plan, and conservation strategy, and it'll be done over a 2-year period. So the ultimate deliverable will be this open space plan with maps and photographs, identifying vulnerable areas and areas that are in need of protection, and areas, prone to flooding, and, so.
What's the other 8,000 goes for?
The town for administrative,
Mhm.
If there's any printings for, preparation for any of the community meetings.
Okay.
Staff reviewing maps, I think Roberta reached out to
GB.
George. Did you reach out to George? Did you
I
t-
did.
tell George?
I belatedly reached out to George because, we do have monies for staff to provide additional services if needed. And there are federal requirements,
The funding's coming from NOAA.
NOAA,
So that every
resiliency grant.
quarter, we have to give a status update to NOAA, and the consultant will help with that. And the consultant's gonna do a lot of the, planning and scheduling and support, so.
And basically, they're recognizing that rural communities don't really have the staff and the capacity to do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what the grant is for. And hopefully, if we update our comprehensive
That's
plan
what I
at
was just
some
thinking.
point, we get some good information.
That's exactly what
Do you, that's what I was gonna say, it's
Yeah.
very, very good timing for that. Now, do you know, with the grant application, does that $8,000 get sent to the town right away, or does it have to be invoiced? Okay, perfect, that's good.
It should be sent to the town right up front, the entire amount. I don't know if you've heard anything, because we completed all the, everything that needed to be signed, so it should be coming right along.
This is super exciting.
Yeah.
This is really awesome. I think this ties in the super awesome work here. Really proud of you all for this. I think it ties into so many things we have going on right now between downtown visioning, the pending comprehensive plan update that I don't want to think about right now, but also concerns around development. This can help really give us that inventory and help us rank what's important. So I really appreciate all your hard work and expertise on this. Like, it really is awesome. And then when all of your hard work brings in dollars as well, it's even better,
I know.
I was just saying at the beginning of this meeting, I think we're gonna have like our best grant, maybe our best grant year ever between you all and Chief. We're at like $120,000 in grants so far this year. So, what did you need from us? Oh, sorry, Heather, you had a question.
I don't think it can be overstated how important this is, and I'm actually emotional about it. So, thank you.
Thanks very much, yeah. For me, this is why I joined the commission, to do this kind of thing. And the ranking will be very helpful.
And that overall potential benefits to the community.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows where this could lead?
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you need for us to move forward?
Question. Do you, is there a contract in place with the state at all?
Contract.
Yeah, isn't there
Yeah, so,
signed?
Yeah, that was the signed contract that
Okay.
we filled out.
with the consultant or with,
Not with the
Oh, not
consultant.
with the consultant, that's what we would need help with, is just, I mean, the request for proposal, the material that we sent around, public material, that's a draft of the proposal, trying to
Just
tell the
make them
consultant
official
what we're
town
looking
right
for. And I do have a little bit of a
I feel like they
list
made it
of,
look pretty easy.
a couple of places to send it, where to post it. Maine Municipal Association, I think you had mentioned.
right, so a contract has been executed?
Well,
Not
so
with a
we, just so that
consultant.
we've written up the request for proposals as a draft, we need to,
Right.
we need to get that out there to broadcast it, so that people will
Yeah.
respond with their proposal, so then we can select the consultant to get the contract.
And that's when we have to sign the contract.
Yeah.
And so, is your intent to have us help with that, review process if you get multiple requests for proposals, or are you all comfortable ranking them yourselves and coming to us with a recommendation?
I mean, I think it would be
Good
great to get
question.
support, from you guys if
Mhm.
you are available. We wanted to try to get it out in early June, as early in June as possible, the RFP, to make, hopefully a selection towards the end of June. So it doesn't
Mhm.
give us a ton of time.
Yeah, well, that's fine. This is your draft RFP language. And so tonight,
Yeah.
what you would just need from us is a motion to approve the RFP language. And then, once you hear back, we can get you on the very first meeting after those bids come through, and we can, pick one and sign off on it to get started right away.
Okay,
So-
I think we were gonna make, a little bit of changes at the end, let's
Mostly
see.
the schedule.
The scheduling, when to start, yeah, that's basically what it was.
Because we
Yeah.
were getting ahead of ourselves and we were thinking the work would start in June 1st, but that's next week.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So
So
that's what
this
the
says to
RFP
be
was.
initiated mid-June 2025.
Yeah, that's where they're talking
And
about
that needs to
changing.
be updated, yeah, because we're thinking the contract would be issued at the end of June. And then, so, yeah, the work would start
Early July.
So you want to
And that's
cross out
aggressive.
mid-June and say early July? Cause
To
are we
start.
gonna vote on this tonight?
Yeah.
So we're gonna vote on the RFP language, and then they'll bring us the quotes and, or bring us
Right.
the response, and then we'll vote to select one and sign a contract.
And this is the RFP
So,
language?
yeah, so I would like for us to hammer out this RFP language the way it looks, so it looks the way you want, and then we can just submit that, vote on that tonight, and then it can just go out right away.
Should it, we're, instead of putting a specific date, should it just say as soon as possible after, contract is signed?
And we should
Because-
indicate maybe when we expect to make our selection.
When we wanna make our,
I'm just thinking
Or-
that you might, I mean, starting in July when it's a high vacation time, and then people might be busy, cause some of the, I mean, you're talking about a 2-year contract if they've got, but they might be freeing up in a few months.
That's true, yeah.
I don't know if stating a start time,
And I actually don't know as if you really need to vote on administrative stuff.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think-
Well, I wasn't sure if we needed to approve the request for,
Language.
proposals.
I think once they get a contract in place and get going and, cause I mean, this is just language, they're not even done with really the language yet. So,
And generally in the past though, we've discussed to make sure that the, request for proposals going out at least look like they're representative of what the town's looking for.
no,
That's all.
like when Calvin goes out for an RFP for his trucks, you
Oh,
don't,
good point.
you don't approve that. This is
Okay,
all
good
like
point.
administrative stuff, not policy stuff, so
Mhm.
I don't think
But
you
we
really
do
need
have to sign the contract
Yeah,
ultimately,
Matt,
so,
yes.
well, so that's where I was thinking it might be valuable for us to make sure we're on the same page now, whereas with Calvin stuff, we're not signing, it feels a little bit different, whereas this is a grant and that's a municipal service, so I'm fine with whatever. The fewer votes and the fewer approvals, the better in my
Yeah,
mind.
cause I mean, you don't wanna work on it in a meeting.
Well, if it was just changing one thing, I'm good, but if we can if this RFP can go out without us having to vote on it, and you just are making, nominal changes through here, I'm good to let it go.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, not to say the exact date the work's gonna start. We
we just wanna indicate when we make our our selection of the consultant,
Mm-hmm.
so they
Right.
know that, have an idea of the time frame.
Yeah, the due date for them to get the proposals in at least.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you all can figure that out, I'm sure, so
Yeah,
whatever
When
works for
you
you.
do, oh, never mind, I'm not gonna get in the weeds about it.
Where's the list of consultants coming from?
well, we did get from GP Cog, they kept a list. I'm not sure whether some of these might be for larger projects, though. They have a pre-qualified firms list, and, they had one page that does, you know, land use, environmental stuff. I don't know if you want to see that.
We had help from FB Environmental, helped us, with our proposal originally, because they provided an example scope. So I would say I'm a little partial towards FB Environmental, because they're a small local firm, and we're favoring that idea of a small local firm with a
Small
lot
local.
of experience doing these open space plans.
Uh-huh.
So we're definitely gonna give the RFP to them, and they'll be one of the folks that we look at their proposals.
And there also have been, community resilience partnership grants for open space plans, so we can check in with, where was it? Not New Gloucester.
Yeah.
It was New Gloucester.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
know,
somewhere
I
else, Wyndham or something like
I
that.
don't know about Wyndham, but I know some other
forget.
conservation commission for
But we
Gloucester.
can also check that, see who did those.
Yeah, I would recommend definitely checking with other towns. That would be a good.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, their experience.
Yeah.
this
how it
list
went.
is all, there's a lot of really known entities here. This is there's a lot of expertise in the state on,
great,
on
yeah.
this stuff.
But yeah, in terms of like references and things like that, I mean, we could certainly use help if there's anything else that needs to be added to the request, like, I think we did put something in there about
We wanna
references.
see the staff bios.
Staff
and,
Yeah.
bios,
their
right,
experience with open space plans. I don't think we require
Right.
references.
right, just the bios.
Yeah, kind of like the same idea when we picked the legal firm. They bring in who we are, what we do, you know. I worked in consulting. I had one of those bios up there that they'd staple into
Yeah.
something.
No,
so.
as long as it's not like a Googling.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess that also determines if we get the list and we're
Yeah.
concerned, then we can ask those questions too, so.
For sure.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that'll be a
if all you need
process.
from us is the thumbs up,
Two.
to give 2 of those,
Yeah.
this is huge.
Well done.
And we will prioritize getting you on, like, when you post the RFP and you have the end date of when the RFP is gonna be closed, right? Let us know and we'll just put them on the very next meeting, as long as the RFP end date isn't like a Tuesday morning, you know? So if you did the RFP end date on like a Thursday, we'd have you on the next meeting, so.
Yeah, that would be really helpful,
Yeah.
yeah, to have some help with that.
Perfect.
Chair,
That'd be
will
great.
we be communicating this through the weekly newsletter bulletin or something? I think it's important
we
that the
should.
town knows, and we should have a list of contributors, whoever contributed to putting the grant language together. Not only on this, but all these grants.
Certainly, if the commission wants to write up a little article, we can have Kim.
Yeah, before,
File the
do you think
newsletter.
before the request for proposals goes out? I
Yeah.
suppose?
So the
Sure,
grant- Yeah,
sure.
the grant.
I mean, I've been so hesitant to celebrate, I'm just
I mean-
saying, 'cause I'll believe it when I see it,
Yeah.
like, tell me when it's deposited, because
If you wanna
I'm
share-
not,
maybe you wanna wait till the money is received,
Well, I was
that
thinking
might
we'd
be
almost
a
wanna wait
good-
till we have a signed contract, cause the funding that funds this is a little right now, so.
That's-
They were optimistic on the funding though.
Yeah.
they were,
But still, the grant work was done, we got a letter of approval back.
Mhm.
That's a win,
it's a yeah,
it's a big win.
Yeah,
Even just
yeah.
sharing that
And
little newsletter that was sent with all the towns, or just pulling out that Durham was one of them, could be cool, yeah.
And the contract's been executed with the Office of Policy Information. You've done
Yep.
that.
been
Good.
executed, right.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's share that one, that's a good point. Yeah.
When you do write up the blurb, make sure, because you said that there's a press release that went out, you, just to provide that link with it, so.
Which link, I'm
The
sorry?
link for you said that there was a press release, correct, that went?
Yes, yes,
Right,
yes, yes,
so just
yes.
providing that press
Right.
release link so that people can click
Right,
through
right,
to, so that they know this is real. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Press release.
I think it's great. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you guys. Or you are. So.
Yep, we'll keep you in touch.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's like big city stuff, you know, not just small stuff.
Well, I mean, it is for a small town, so.
Alrighty, George, you're up with the land use codification update. It's been a long process to get here, so I'm excited to hear what you gotta say.
Okay, good evening. I am George Schwartz, Town Planner, and I'm here to give you an update on the codification of the land use ordinance, the project that we've been working on for some time, as you mentioned. We've contracted with a company called General Code. They do land use ordinances and all other types of ordinances for about 3,000 communities across the country and about 30 here in Maine. And so they are looking to prepare an online version of the land use ordinance, and the project is also includes their going through the entire ordinance and looking for grammatical errors, inconsistencies, and perhaps most importantly, as we've seen, there are areas there the town needs to be in compliance with state legal requirements. And so they've identified some areas where we are not currently in compliance and need to address those in this process. So they've identified beyond the big issues, the 139 technical issues that, as I said, are mostly fixing typos, correcting cross-references to ordinances and codes and standards. What we're looking at is a timeline has been prepared based on their work. And the first part of that, the first deadline is July 25th, which requires that we provide the answers of the town's responses to their questions. So basically, for example, the ordinance uses code officer, code enforcement officer inconsistently through the ordinance. So they're just looking for a simple direction to have the town give the direction to them, make it code enforcement officer throughout the ordinance. Select board, some places it's called selectmen, select board, board of selectmen. Again, getting consistency through the ordinance with those terms is part of that process. They've also agreed, which is really helpful, to allow the town to put in some minor policy questions in terms of the time frame that we're working with. So we've identified 14 what we're calling minor policy issues that are not really, don't fit within that characterization of just a technical fix. And so we've outlined as a process where the board, going through our standard process for processing ordinance changes, we will, if we can get something to them by the end of the year on those 14 issues that we can discuss after this summary, they can incorporate that into the proposed codification of the ordinance. As I said, the deadline for getting the draft into them would be December of this year, and then they would prepare a preliminary draft of the entire codified ordinance for February. And then in April, after we review that preliminary draft, they could make minor changes to the wording. So for example, in this last round, you decided to change the threshold for contract zoning of solar farms from 10 acres to 20 acres. That type of change they could incorporate. They couldn't rewrite entire sections. So that you will be able to make changes right up until April of next year. And then in May of 2026, they would deliver the final draft for your town meeting. And then in June, that would be voted on at the town meeting. Now, what we have proposed, and the consultants are in full agreement, is that the town should consider presenting 2 warrant articles. One is just the basic baseline codification with all of those technical issues where you don't really have a policy question, and then separating out as a separate warrant article those additional policy issues that you would like to incorporate into the codified ordinance and making it clear that there are technical issues and then there are policy issues. What we are looking for, hopefully, from you tonight is to kind of get a endorsement on the direction that we're taking, particularly letting the town staff, and that includes myself who managing the project, but I'm working closely with the fire chief, the road commissioner, the code enforcement officer, and the town attorney. What we would like to do is go through and address those 139 technical issues and prepare a report that'll be available to all the boards and committees to review what we've done and the explanation for it. So that would be part of the process. In parallel, as I said, we've done over the last probably 3 or 4 years now, we've developed a process where the boards and commissions work with the select board to identify policy priorities. In this case, we've prepared 14 that are just recurring issues that come up at board meetings, whether it's the Board of Appeals or the Planning Board. These are things we've been trying to fix for several years now, but it always got bogged down in the process. So we'd like to take just do an overall addressing of those policies. So some examples of those are the backlot and subdivision road standards are not really consistent. Another example would be we recently reviewed the leisure campground where it's really morphing into an RV park, and the standards that we have now don't deal with year-round occupancy in those types of facilities. And then improving the application procedures. I pointed out to Jerry an issue in terms of delinquent taxes being carried by developers and then coming into the planning board.
Mm-hmm.
And there's simple fixes to deal with those types of issues. So we understand that you're going to be scheduling a meeting with the boards and commissions, hopefully next month, to talk about those policy issues and any others that you or they put before us. Again, keeping in mind that it really can't be a big issue like battery energy storage systems in order to fit within this time frame and get that included in the codification. So we're looking for the boards to really provide the policy guidance, and hopefully you can support letting the staff deal with the technical work, which will free you all up to really focus on those policy issues. So as I indicated, we want to keep this process completely transparent. Every part of the work that we do we'll make available to you to review and give us input. But it's really important that we move forward with trying to get these if we're going to incorporate some of these policy changes into this work, then we need to get that moving as quickly as possible. So in summary, we've kind of put together a clear plan for carrying out this ordinance work, and we're looking for your direction and support for what we put forth as a process, and then we look forward to working with you to make sure that it gets done not just quickly but right. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. I did include a summary of all 139 of those policy or the technical questions in my report to you. And then I also included the 14 items that we've identified. And as I said, I'd be happy to discuss any of that with you.
What are these 9 items in the back page?
Yeah, well, so then I neglected to mention that when we started out this project, we had discussions about getting the codification project funded, and John Talbot in particular was really felt he needed to be stressed that this is not going to address all of the ordinance issues. As we said during the BES and contract zoning discussion, many people brought up the issue of, well, what about gravel pits? So this is not going to deal with gravel pits in terms of whether they should be put through contract zoning. That will come after this. So what we're looking to do is have this overhaul of the land use ordinance and the codification done by June of this coming year, have the new ordinance published and online by July, and then we'll continue with dealing with the land use policies, especially as you've discussed already tonight, with the open space plan, the upcoming comprehensive plan. And hopefully in that comprehensive plan you can get some guidance for dealing with some of those issues.
Also, I can see this, and I see this process streamlining the comprehensive plan. When we're walking in and we say, we know that this is what's broken, as opposed to let's find out what's broken now when we do that comprehensive planning. So I can see this being really helpful for that too. So.
Yeah, it'll give a much clearer picture of where the town is now on its land use regulation program.
Yeah, and so these 9 things on the back are topics that have been brought
Those
up.
are the
that
larger
really-
policy
yeah.
issues that we cannot incorporate into this process.
The dang sign regulation that started this whole thing.
Among others.
Yeah. Any questions for George?
I thought everything was really well put together, George.
Mhm.
And the 14 comments from a collective group from the staff, is that how that went?
Well, they've been things that keep coming
Yeah.
up at board meetings,
Yeah.
and they have discussions, and we say, that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, that's
But
good.
then we had like the LD 2003 affordable housing, we had solar farms, we had BESS, and so some of these smaller things just kept, falling by the wayside that we haven't really been able to. I tried to do that back when we first did the comprehensive plan, and the codification that I did, overhauling the ordinance, but we didn't have the process of cooperation between the boards that we have now.
We also had a pandemic after the
And we had a
comprehensive
pandemic,
plan. We
that's
slowed
correct.
that down quite a bit. So-
Anyway, very insightful, those 14 comments in addition to everything.
Yeah, and
else that
again,
you guys put together.
and it might include any of the minor policy issues that we can't get
Right.
resolved by December. Those might have to be pushed over into that group.
So the 139 grammatical and typographical errors, is that the reference to like select board, selectmen, that?
Yeah.
Well,
And are
it
you
also includes some policy issues, however, those are dictated by state law.
Right.
So for
Okay.
example, right now, the town has these mobile home park regulations that are not enforceable because you cannot require 1 acre for a mobile home site in a mobile home park, which is what you have in your ordinance.
Okay.
The state has, in the same way that it did with the affordable housing, it really gave directives to the towns to allow mobile home parks and make it workable for mobile home park operators. Now, you only have one in town, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of drive toward doing mobile home parks. But if an application were to come in today, you'd be in that box of, your ordinance says you can't do it, but state law says you have to allow it. And so we're caught in that dilemma, and so this will fix that whole issue.
And so are you gonna, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand the process correctly. Of those things, like where there's inconsistencies between code officer, code enforcement
Yes.
officer, are we just saying, go ahead and do what you guys feel is best? You're not bringing all of those to us to say, we want you to do this with this particular one?
We're hoping that you support that.
I
Okay.
support that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need to see the removal or addition of an Oxford comma to vote on. And I think that for me, I'm good with those things, especially because you've really given us a scope of what they address. We can't vote to say, no, we do want to violate state law in our ordinance anyways. So I'm fine with you all just handling that personally. Heather?
Just one more question. I know that when another town had done this entire revamp, the red line edits of every change was available on their website. And that's important to me, I think. And so I'm just wondering if that is what our intention is to do also.
Yeah, you will see all 139, they have a website that we're working with where we give our responses. And there's commentary in there which will explain why that change was made. So
Okay.
yeah, that information, we'll provide you with the summary and the details of everything we do in that process.
And is that gonna be available like on our website to the whole town to see? Or
At
just-
some point it will, not
Okay.
while we're working on it.
Right, yeah,
but-
no, that's
but
fine.
when
I
we
just wanted to
complete
make
it.
sure that there was a very clear draft of what
Yes.
changes had been made and was available for
Yeah,
everybody
and it's
to
the
see.
typical thing like with your website, you go live
Yeah,
and then everybody can see it.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions for George? I don't think we need a motion on this. I think we can give you the approval to move forward with those 139 points and let us know when that website's large and let us know if something comes up and you feel like you need additional feedback from us,
Right.
let us know.
And some of those issues we will be bringing to
Yeah.
you.
What's that?
Some of those issues, even within the 139,
Yeah.
we will be bringing to you.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, one thing that, just as my hope is after the process, if there's the opportunity to highlight some of those issues, like separately, so of this 139, here's the 20 that, these were the
Yeah.
ordinances that were in violation of state law. We're not debating that, but it's good for
Right.
us to know that that's where the issue was. So,
Absolutely. We want to keep you fully informed all the way through the process.
perfect. Works for me. Any other questions for George?
Okay?
Thank you.
Free.
Thank you,
George.
There's a lot of really good stuff going on right now. It's exciting. All right, Eureka Internet discussion. Jerry.
So, yes, thank you. You all received a quote from BTS, which is Purchases Technology Services, for providing internet over at the Eureka Center, which is basically a boost, so there'll be no wires. They're just gonna put a booster here and a booster over there, and it'll send the signal from the fire station over there. They said they could provide that to the town to the tune of $2,578.44. So the board just has to discuss whether you wanna do that or not, and if you do, then I'll get them on.
Where would that money come out of?
That would come out of the buildings reserve. And the building reserve right now currently has $159,448.13.
And we had moved the telecommunication
Yes.
reserve into that building reserve,
Yes,
knowing that we can address all those issues
Right.
right out of that reserve, so.
And I'm assuming there is no risk of poor performance at the fire station if we make this happen.
I can't answer, I don't know. I can't, I don't.
So with boosters though, I mean, did they come back at all and say what it would cost to have its own separate?
No.
Is that curious that they didn't do that?
No, it was the easiest and most least expensive way to
This-
do it.
this-
Because the other option was to dig a trench from the town office or
Oh,
something
forget
like
it,
that.
okay.
Well, they could actually run it from the pole and in, but again, with this facility studies, how much
Right.
do you
When I-
wanna do
Yeah.
infrastructure type stuff and
My
versus
thought process
boosting
with
it.
this too is, you know, it's not a super heavy draw over there.
That's right.
It's gonna be people, sending emails during their meetings or stuff like
Checking
that. It usually, in off-peak hours where the fire department's not gonna have their staff here, I know that they probably have hardwired connections here too. I wouldn't wanna be like, we have Eureka Center, but we lost dispatch, I think that's a really good thing to bring up. But I'm supportive of this.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
So, I think it's important that all of our meetings are recorded and available. And so my only concern, and I'm not saying that we need to go a different route, but if we're gonna if all of our meetings are taking place over there and we're not currently broadcasting, is this gonna make it so that we can? No, because there'll be internet over there now.
Are you talking
To
about
some
like,
extent. Like all the
conservation
other,
committee?
yeah, like all the other boards and committees, we're not filming and posting those
Mhm.
meetings, and I think it's important that we do that, and so I'm wondering if this fix is going to allow that to happen over there.
so we could record over there without internet? It would just have to be recorded and then uploaded later. You're saying, would we be able to live stream over there? If it was wireless, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean, but we're not currently recording and
No.
uploading, right?
We're
and I
not,
think
currently the only meetings that are recorded are ours, the planning board and the appeals board and the budget committee.
Yeah.
Those are the only meetings that are required to be recorded.
Yeah, and everybody else just has to submit.
There's no
notice.
requirement to record anybody's meetings, but I think that it's important, personally.
So your question is, will it still be able to be recorded, or can it be live streamed?
Can it be live streamed?
I would assume the answer is yes,
Yes,
because we now
Debbie just
have
said
internet.
yes.
Of course, but the next question is how do we administrate that?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
you'd have to, all
Cause-
this equipment.
And we need people to set it up and that sort of thing, so.
But it lays a foundation for if we pursue that in the future, we have that foundational component of the internet is now there. So I think that this is in response to a lot of requests to get internet over there. That came out of the downtown visioning, regardless if people want better service over there for those sorts of things, so.
So,
And it will, sorry, real quick,
No, it's okay.
that will be too, because when we do have the special meetings and we go over there, and right now, we don't have the ability to live stream, but those are the days where we decide we want to move things over for a special meeting. That should give us the ability to live stream over there as opposed to record and upload, so.
If we had the ability to live stream up there, is there a reason why select board meetings and planning board meetings can't take place over there?
I think,
Just
again,
the
it's that
equipment.
administrative
It would be, we'd have to move all of this stuff over there and then switch that over, because then we don't have the equipment to set up a live stream center here and a live stream.
But we wouldn't
Set
be
over
meeting
there.
here anymore, is
Mhm.
what I'm asking. If we had the ability to do this over there, would us being in this space be necessary?
I think it's a policy choice for us in the future. But the internet's the first piece over there, is what you're getting at.
That's what I'm asking, if this
Yeah.
will make that capable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
so just to clarify, the gigabytes that we get, just because I have boosters and sometimes it lags, so are we increasing the gigabytes that we're getting because of the dual space?
I'm not that tech savvy, I don't know.
Do we know what we currently have?
Do you want me to just, I don't have numbers, but I could just say what Devin just said. He said the fire station has the most powerful internet right now, and it can easily be split with Eureka at no negative effect to the fire station.
Okay, Devin knows what he's talking about, it's fine, cool. What
It's
else?
technology, so I hate to promise anything with technology, you know?
True that.
You promise it, next thing you know, it fails, so.
I mean, I don't think we're increasing our bandwidth, but we
Yeah,
are
but like
just
to
now
your-
making it available for people.
Right, but to
over
your
there.
point, like if the fire station, if something's happening, because like if they're doing an event, you know, with chief being here and we're over there and we have the two spaces, but they're like, who knows? Like, I'm just trying to think of worst
Yeah,
case scenario.
I understand. I do think that this, if the problem that arises is that the signal is weak over there when we're having meetings here, I think that's still better than zero
Right,
over there.
but to
As long as it
Heather's
doesn't
point-
break down hours here.
Right, to
yeah.
Heather's point, if we all move our meetings over there and we have a weak signal, we're not actually getting it over, that's not
Mhm.
great, so.
That's
it's
where I
just
think
like-
Devin's saying we're good.
But yeah,
So I
that's
hope,
what,
you know,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, that's the point.
But I think to Heather's point, I think that gives us the foundation for no matter what, in order to stream anything, we need internet, and this gets us
Yes.
internet there. So I'm supportive of it. So I have a motion to accept the quote here to approve.
So moved.
So, do I have a second?
I'll second.
The motion will be to spend $2,578.44 out of the building reserve for internet for the Eureka Center. Do we have any questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none? Voila. All right, manager report, Jerry.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, George.
I don't have a ton to report to you. If you've read Calvin's update, we did lose another Public Works employee who went elsewhere. So Calvin's going to advertise for that position this week, and we'll try to get it filled as soon as possible.
That was because of pay, right?
Yeah, both of them. in that case.
Significant increases in pay.
Yes, like more than $10.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Just to kind of let you know, our HR person is coming here on Thursday to train all full-time employees on what the professional expectation is in the workplace, sexual harassment, discrimination, and bullying. So we're gonna do that Thursday morning, actually right here in this room. Another update, so we're in the middle of updating the employee handbook because it's so old, so it's almost ready for my review. So how I'm gonna manage that process is, once I review it, I'm gonna give it to the full-time staff to review and get input from them and see what their comments are and that sort of thing. And then, the expectation is, I'm gonna bring this in to you folks, along with the HR person for you to review it. But I would probably give you like a couple weeks, so I'd give it to you probably one meeting, and then we would review it the following meeting with the HR person to kind of, because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to sign off on it. So you're gonna have to be aware of what some of these changes will be. And it may take more than one meeting if it's an employee handbook, so that's kind of where we are with that. So I'm excited to get, because it is really old, and I think there are probably some things in there that are outdated, and
Yeah.
like the paid Family Medical Leave Act isn't in the employee handbook. So it's things like that, so that'll all get updated, so that'll be good. Other than that kind of concludes my report. I gave you a good one last time, and it's been pretty quiet since.
That's good.
Awesome, thanks, Jerry. Any questions for Jerry? Board member reports, I'll go first. Thursday this week, I'm going to the GP Cog Summit. It happens every year. It's generally, they send an invite to the town manager and the chair. And they asked us to, if we were interested, they do this thing called What Works, and it's kind of like a rapid 60-second presentation on something that's working in your town. No PowerPoint, anything like that. But they asked if we would, if I would just explain briefly our downtown visioning process. And so this is really kind of a space for members of GP Cog to get together, kind of hear from a speaker, keynote speaker, share a little bit about what works with them, and then kind of collaborate with each other about what's going on in their town. So it's kind of an informal space, but it's been useful for us in the past because that's where we've learned about how other municipalities are dealing with things or other challenges. So I will be there Thursday. So Jerry, you had a
May have a
scheduling conflict
conflict.
arise, so
Yeah, and I think what Tony was talking about actually was the brochure that was made as far as the
Yeah.
taxes. And
oh, I thought he was talking
fiscal
about the
year change.
downtown center. Oh, sorry, no, I'm confusing them. Yeah, it's the fiscal year change, the brochure
Yeah.
about as something that as what works. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I should make sure I have that in line for Thursday before I present the wrong thing. Thank you.
I mean, we'll see if it works. The fact that we did a nice brochure and sent it out to everybody and we haven't gotten any feedback is awesome.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, but that's one of those things that I think is a really good space to share that. Like, this is what we did.
Yeah.
And that's where, after, when we're collaborating, people might say, oh, we had the same thing, we didn't do that, and this is a disaster it was. or whatever.
And the point, and I think kind of the point that he'd like us to make is, you know, it was Tom Bell, the communications director at GP Cog.
Helped us.
Really helped
Who
us.
helped
with
us,
it,
yeah.
Which he was fantastic. 'Cause
I mean,
he's
he
the
did
expert,
it.
right? So he was really good.
Yeah.
We didn't get your sit-down interview though. We didn't get your interview.
No.
I was looking forward to that.
Yeah. Heather?
Just to piggyback what you just said about that brochure and the change that's coming, and maybe it was because of GP Cog, which might be something for you to add, that the town staff is so wonderful at articulating that. In my other role as real estate agent, at every closing table that I've sat at, the title company attorneys explain to the people as the properties are transferring in Durham our two tax bill system, and all have mentioned how well the town staff has explained that when they've called.
That's huge right there.
That's really nice to hear. Oh, done.
Well, because I think that's a really good point, Heather, because a lot of times people are thinking about our one target audience, and then we find out that things are being used really efficiently and effectively by others, so. I know GP
Good
Cog will
job.
be happy to hear that their pamphlet, Tony will get an attaboy, you know.
Or just even their direction to the town staff, for them to feel confident and be able to explain that to attorneys that are calling to find out what they're gonna relay at the closing table
Yeah.
as property in Durham.
So I'd say that what works is we use GP-COG to develop the brochure, and the way it works is it helps our town staff, it helps our town members, and it even helps businesses and real estate companies in town.
Can I mention one more thing before you go? So we will be sending out the 30-day lien notices this week. So that's an important mailing. So, just so the residents know.
Absolutely. All right, that's all I have. Josh, do you have anything?
Can I ask a
Oh.
question? What's the name of the software that we were getting rid of and replacing?
Trio.
Trio, do we still have Trio?
Yes, we still have Trio, and Town Cloud is, they're lagging behind. I think they're having a problem with the BMV and getting that situated. So there's no one of the 6 or 7 towns that are signed on, no one's live yet. So
It might be good for us to get a formal status update of the project, like, you know,
I
are we
can-
paying money now and not? I don't know, we don't need to talk the details, but I feel like we should understand where we're at.
yeah,
Coming up.
I think 7 towns would really like to understand.
Because they
where
were
they're at.
targeting July, correct?
They were targeting January 1st.
January, sorry. Yeah, and what's our fiscal responsibility to them right now?
So we've paid them 5,000,
Yeah,
and we
don't pay them until they're live.
till we go live, the other, what's remaining. And I mean, and if it doesn't work out, they're our website people as well, so that 5,000 can go towards our website if their software doesn't pan out. But I'll tell you,
Let's request an official update from
Yeah.
them so we can like.
well, I'll try, but they're very, very difficult to get a hold of. They're working hard on this. And I'll keep you posted. I mean, they haven't.
Yeah,
been-
I mean, difficult to get a hold of is fine, but when you're 6 months behind schedule, that's make the time to let us know. You know, I'm not saying this isn't on you. I'm saying on them.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Especially because if we're all part of their freshman class and their requirement and their hope is that we're gonna be the people who are onboarding this, we need to get an update from them, so that's on them, so. Josh, anything?
Nope.
Heather, anything?
I just wanted to publicly say thank you to the members of the cemetery committee and members of the historical society that put up all of the flags on the veterans' graves for Memorial Day. And also to Keith Russell and Zeke Harris for hanging up all of the flags on all of the telephone poles. And just want to thank Devin and whoever else contributed to getting a search function on the Town of Durham website.
Yeah, you were in that last meeting when that popped up. We figured you were using it from vacation immediately.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Heather. Deb?
The department head reports, thank you for that, they were all very informative. I did want to mention about the Sea Dogs game where Kevin Merrill was honored, which was nice. Did a communication go out on that I missed? I mean,
I think Chief was communicating that somewhere. It might not have been on Facebook or on the website. I think
Or on our-
could have just been fire
I think
department.
maybe we need to figure out how to do better there. I mean, if our people are being publicly honored, even when we renamed this building, I felt like I only heard about it after it was done, and as a member of the select board, I would like to go to some of these things. I would have liked to actually gone to the Sea Dogs game for Kevin's honorary. So I don't know how the communication of all that works, but maybe it's something you could just talk about, Jerry, at your staff meeting. Just department heads, if something like that's happening, can we know about it so we can participate?
Yeah, because I think Chief posted about that on the Durham's firefighter Facebook page. But those are things where we can encourage chief to say, oh, big ticket items like that. If you're doing a post, please flag it for us, because we don't need to post
He
it.
didn't put it in his department head report?
Well, he put it in that it happened, I don't that's what I'm saying, maybe I missed something
Yeah.
too. I don't remember seeing that it was coming up, but I could have missed it.
Right, what we saw after the fact was the post, like, that it happened,
Right.
like pictures of it happening versus ahead of time where if we wanted to attend, like, we just don't have knowledge of that to be able to attend.
I thought
So it wasn't in his department head report?
I thought it had been posted on the Durham Fire Department Facebook page ahead of time. I thought so.
Oh, I didn't see it ahead of time.
I could be wrong.
I feel
But
like the
yeah.
select board should be notified when this type of stuff is happening,
Yeah.
so we can participate in. Anyway,
Game
that's my
got
comment.
rained out.
Oh, it did?
Yeah,
Oh,
Really?
it did?
So
Oh, you mean it rained?
Saturday it got rained out.
the game didn't happen.
But he was still honored?
I'm not sure.
I think, okay, anyway, I'm done.
No worries.
No, but it's a good
But it's
point.
good
That's a
point
good
to like, we gotta probably come up with this process where there's certain things, certain wins that get elevated above just that department, you know, so we can share it too. Like, cause like once a year, they'll do something with the fire department, like presents the colors at a hockey game. And that might be
Yeah.
like, that might be something the community wants to know, cause if someone's like, well, I'm gonna go to one hockey game, maybe it'd be the one that they're gonna be there, you know, so. I think that's a good point.
discussion, Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rebecca?
Nothing.
Nada. All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I meant to do this earlier, it's a little late, but I think I would like to remove the tan from the consent agenda so we can have a discussion.
Yeah, we can do that now when we get to the consent agenda, so that's perfect. You can just say, no, I want to remove it, so this is the right time to do that. All right, so we're gonna, do I have a motion to move the approval and signing of the tan from the consent agenda?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Josh, all right, this is just to remove it from the consent agenda and put it in here for discussion. All in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none? All right, we'll now have a discussion on approval and signing of the resolution authorizing tax anticipation note. Questions about that?
I just think it's something Jerry brought up at our last meeting, but I think it's essentially us taking a loan to pay our bills, you know, if we need it, and I think it's something that should be done outside of a consent agenda.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I support it, we need it, I think there are ways around it, I would rather do that, but this was the way to do it, so I mean, we need it, so I support it, but I just think it should be a separate vote.
Yeah, that's fine. Just to recap what Jerry had said last time, it's gonna be a tax anticipation note for $2,600,000 and change, correct, Jerry?
Mm-hmm.
And we are that's the maximum amount we're allowed to take out. We're only charged interest on what we use. And to give you perspective, Jerry and I looked today, and so generally in the past, we have expenditures, if you said about 800,000.
Outflows.
Outflows of about 800,000 a month. Generally, we have about an inflow of 300,000 a month, and so we have a net loss of about 600,000 a month until our tax collection takes place, which is usually about 5.2 million. So that makes us whole for the rest of the year. What we don't know this year is how much of that tax collection is going to happen on that first. Some people might pay. Well, we know we're going to get at least half, so the 2.5 million. But some people might pay the whole taxes. So depending on how much that gets, it puts us in a situation where our cash outflows might exceed the balance sometime in August, July, August, possibly even as far out as September, just depending on what we get. So it's looking like we would need this just to get through a few months. There's no intent to use the full amount. And Jerry and I discussed this a little bit today. The goal will to be watching the outflows every month and figuring out which month is the outflow going to happen, and then only pulling out the necessary amount to cover that gap, rather than just pulling out a large sum. So we can absolutely limit our use of the TAN moving forward. So The only other option for this would have been to, address it in the budget, by budgeting to get more funds to cover that. But I think that would have been a hard sell this year, so the tan is the way to go, so. Do you have any questions?
And that interest is something that's been built into the budget we have.
No.
No.
That-
So where's that? Okay.
Yeah, and so we'll have to deal with that after we figure out how much we actually utilize. And it could be a non-issue if enough taxes are collected in the first round, so.
Well,
Is this-
No,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
No.
But taxes, the first tax payment is until October, and we're talking about using it in July, August, September. So however much gets paid in December isn't gonna affect how much we take out. So,
Well, how much we take out affects how much we have to accommodate for later, right?
we're gonna have, I think, we're taking some out.
Mhm.
It's a question of how much,
Yeah,
and I don't think it matters how.
I think it's a pretty significant oversight on our
Mhm.
part.
Yeah.
And all the details we thought about on this process, it's good because
yeah.
of the interest that we're gonna be paying.
I'll throw out there again that I think we could make the first tax payment due in August, and that would help save a chunk of this.
I think with all of our communication being October, it'd be really hard to change that now.
You could, but then you'd be switching your dates of collecting taxes. If you did it on August 1st, you'd have to do it 6 months later, and you still wouldn't have enough after that 6 months to carry you through. So no matter where you slice it and how you slice it.
Yeah, but with Josh's point,
I know
we'd be
not-
taking it out later, so it would be less.
But I know I'm not a math major, but if we don't have enough after the April payment to get through the rest of the year, then we're not collecting enough in taxes. So, if,
Then I guess it's hindsight, I mean, because the brochure was shared, the dates were on there. You know, to change it now would be very difficult.
I just don't think we could change it now because we've advertised that to the people, that's what was voted on. And there's people who won't be in a position to pay it now, but might be waiting to be in a position in the coming months to pay. So I think you're right, Deb. I think it was an oversight on us as a whole. There's no. If
Do
anyone
we have
wants
a
to
kind of
know.
an anticipated interest amount that we'll be paying at all?
Between 5 and 6%.
Mhm.
So interest rates keep moving daily, so once they do all the paperwork, and this is going through the attorney bond counsel, and the bank handles most of this. So I'd like to have it in place in July 1st, but we probably may not use it until August 15th. It just depends, and some people, may pay a lot of their taxes right up front. A lot of people may not take the 2 months, maybe they'll say, no, I'm gonna stick to the full year, so, you have inflows, and there's just, this is all about cash flow. It's so hard to know what's gonna come in and what's going on. There hasn't been a town that has switched a fiscal year that hasn't had a tax anticipation note.
Yeah, we talked
just
about it in
hasn't.
the budget process, but we just didn't.
Right.
We didn't, and this is on us. We didn't accommodate for the interest rate.
Cumberland County just switched from a calendar year to a fiscal year, and they had to take out a tax anticipation note. You need it for that 6 months. There's no way around it.
Unless you collect the full 18 months of taxes in one
Right.
payment. And that was the other, we talked about that when we made that first fiscal change question, was do you do a 6-month budget and then come back, or do you do an 18-month budget and collect it all at once? Do you do an 18-month budget, collect it in 2 separate payments, 2 9-month payments, and then use a TAN? And it was on us that we missed the TAN interest rate, so. Or we didn't accommodate for the dates. We could have done better on that, so definitely a learning process. But regardless, we're gonna need it at this point. And so the goal will be to use as little as possible. Do I have a motion to approve and sign, do I have a motion to authorize tax anticipation note, from which.
Heather had a comment before you,
Oh, I didn't see that, sorry.
I was deciding whether or not I wanted to say it, in full disclosure that I haven't watched our last meeting. And I was just, I'm feeling a little bit confused. I thought that when we had talked with Mark, we talked about what the bottom, like when everything had gone out, what that 1 month, reserve would be left over, and then when we were doing that process, we never got down to a point where we didn't have enough money in our reserves to cover, I don't know if reserve's the right word, in our general fund to cover, and so I've, again, in full transparency, I have not watched our last meeting that I missed, and so that's just where I am.
You're talking about the cash flow analysis,
Right.
and I think that the cash flow analysis we had looked at was leading into the budget cycle, I don't think we looked at that at the 18-month budget, if I recall. But I recall what you're talking about there.
It was, my understanding was when we were setting the percentage of what we needed to leave, what's the policy about the general fund, keeping 14 to 18% or whatever, because that would always have us covered. So anyways, I'm a little surprised to see this for that reason, but again, maybe I'm not recalling correctly that when we were talking about that, we were talking about a 12-month budget and not an 18-month budget.
Yeah,
So
I think that's
why
what we were talking
that's
about
why I feel
12 months.
confused, because my understanding, or what my brain is remembering, was that we were talking about the 18-month budget, but it's very likely that we could have been talking about the 12-month budget.
I think that was the meeting when Mark was in giving us an update on cash inflows and outflows, and that's where it looked like we were about to go into the negative, but he was saying that the inflow was jumping up in July, and that was his mid-year update to us on our 12-month budget last time around. And so hopefully here we don't have to draw off until August or September, and then we get paid in October to replenish half of that, and then hopefully it's just one or two withdrawals. But any other discussion on the motion, or did we get a motion, or did you have a question before the motion?
I move that we approve and assign the TAN.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any other quick discussion on the motion? Alright, all in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none, it's approved. Alrighty, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Alright, do I have a second?
I'll say.
Second, do we have any questions or discussion on the motion? Alright, all in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none. And so I'll just pass this around for us to sign. Do you need us to print our name? Because this one doesn't have our name typed out underneath it. It just says,
No, you don't have to print it. Is that for Catherine?
yeah.
Yeah, no, you just.
And there we go. Alrighty, upcoming meetings. Start on that. Upcoming meetings, Agriculture Planning Committee, June 4th at Eureka. Planning Board, June 4th at Fire Station. Solid Waste, June 9th at Eureka. Budget Validation, June 10th at Hamvets. Select Board meeting, June 10th at the Fire Station, 6:30. We do need an executive session tonight pursuant to, what does it say?
4056A,
4056A,
personnel matters.
Personnel Matters. And do I have a motion to, we'll have a motion to enter the executive session, or do we just enter as?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Moved by Josh, we'll say seconded by, I heard Deb first. So. But my ear's closer to Deb, so. Alright, and then approved. So, it's just gonna be the 4 or 5 of us tonight. So we shut everything down, we'll make sure we'll note the motion for you.
Oh, yeah. Just a waste pen.
Well, I love these and I end up losing them.